this Sunday. Come on down to the arena to see your float tank problems pitted against two men full of daily solutions. Strap yourselves in because they're getting ready to rumble!
All right, hey everybody.
Hi, this is Graham.
And this is Ashkahn.
And today's question is hilarious, sort of, and desperate. It's, I need a huge influx of cash right now.
Oh,
what are
boy.
some things I can do to raise some quick funds?
Oh boy.
Well, first of all, we're probably not actually releasing this tomorrow, so hopefully this podcast gets
How
to you in
urgent
time.
is this? Yeah, I mean, drugs are a very profitable industry to be in.
I think we have at least 3 kidneys.
Selling your plasma, I've heard that's a quick buck, right?
Faking a fire and claiming insurance money? Actually, it
Just
sounds really long term.
Yeah,
It sounds really.
That's true.
It's probably years.
It'd be like an
years for
investigation.
insurance
You'd have to do
claims.
the jail time.
Yeah,
like, all
you'd
that
be
would-
serving time for that. Yeah.
I mean, that's hard because
Whenever you need something specific and you need it right now, is the hardest time to get it.
yeah.
The more ambiguous your goals are, and the more that they can be done in the future, the easier it is to eventually accomplish them. So money right now is one of those things where you're going to probably have to sacrifice something in order to get it. Again, toes, kidney, plasma.
So there's a few ways to do this with your float center. And they basically just involve running sales mostly if you really need money like right now.
Yeah.
So like Groupon is one way of getting an influx of cash, although they hold on to some of your money, but you still get like a decent check within what, like a week?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Something like that.
Yeah. And running your own internal sale, if you have a big mailing list, if you
Yeah.
have a good Facebook following, just blasting out. And when I was kind of alluding to sacrificing something earlier, what I actually meant is even something like running a sale, you're really kind of sacrificing future sales in exchange for getting sales right now. Because presumably the people who are buying these floats at a discount could potentially be full price float purchasers, maybe just not right now if you're trying to get that money immediately.
Yeah, and if you're not sacrificing that, you're sacrificing kind of your perceived value and how much people are used to paying for floats. The more sales you do, the more you're just kind of getting people not used to paying full price.
But sometimes you just need that. And
Need the
that's
money.
fine. I mean, we've
Yeah.
definitely run sales and treated our floats almost as a line of credit.
Yeah, for sure. Almost like most of our Groupon or sales situations, I think, have been originally motivated by some sort of like construction cost that we needed to find money for immediately.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much if you've been following us for a while, you know we only run 2 sales during the year, one in December and one in June. And so anything outside of that, you know, if you ever see a discount to float on in April, it's probably because we needed to replace a set of floors or something,
Something's
you
wrong.
know.
Something's wrong with
Yeah.
that. And those are your most immediate options. Other than that, I mean, like you go to the bank.
Yeah,
but
having a
bank-
line of credit with the bank is actually
A line of credit is cool, and it's usually like the lowest interest of almost any way of lending money from a bank. I guess it's good to set that stuff up when you don't need it, so that it's
so that it's there when you
do.
need it. Yeah.
But often, like if you have a few years of being in business and you have kind of a healthy bank account history, then from what I could tell, and I don't know too much about this, like getting under $100,000 in a line of credit is generally not the craziest thing in the world, and often just requires the approval of whoever's kind of working the business desk at the bank. So if you're going for a low amount like that, and then usually even if you pay it back in a certain amount of time, I don't think there's any interest on it.
For sure.
So that's definitely a good thing to like have in your back pocket.
Yeah, there's also, it sort of depends on when you're expecting money coming in and what you need it to pay for. But on the paying for side, often there's way more leeway there than you might imagine.
Right, for especially construction stuff.
Yeah, like the ability to push back some of your costs by a month or a couple months you have way more negotiation leeway there than you might think that you do. Even for things like bills or talking to the electric company or things as simple as that. They're used to dealing with such huge amounts of money that even though a float center is not a cheap thing to run and it takes a good amount of funds to keep it going, in the scope of this much broader business world, we're still itty bitty businesses, like we are tiny brick and mortar shops. And so if you need to delay even something like $10,000 up to a couple months out, you might be shocked. Just calling the company that you owe that money to and having a conversation might just yield that time extension.
Or especially if you need this money because you need to do some sort of construction fix, you can usually negotiate. They call them like net terms, like net 30s or net 60s, and that's just the amount of days after something is done that you need to actually pay the bill. So you could have someone, do a plumbing project for you, and it'd be 2 months before you actually have to pay them for it.
Yeah, and so, in the past when we've just had to do emergency repairs on our walls or our floors or something like that, we've kind of done a combination of that. Find the contractors that you can do the net terms with or the materials providers, push that out as far as you can, take a little money from a line of credit, run a sale, and kind of all those things combined ends up being more of the solution that we've implemented.
Yeah. Or I've also heard crippling credit card debt can be a useful thing for people.
And I do know float centers who have used credit cards to get past very similar experiences. That one, of course, is just terrifying because the interest rates get so high if you wait a little too long to pay them back.
You just pay it off with another credit card. That's the key.
And if you do it right, you can just get nonstop rewards during the process. So sort of like you can't see, but I'm drawing sort of a triangular shaped thing. If you sell credit cards to other people and then they start using them, you get a bonus for every charge that they do.
Yeah, you should really get into some sort of like financial business.
So there are some ideas. What else? Child slavery.
Yeah, those are the real ones.
Yeah, for sure. There's only so much you can do to really generate that money. In
like asking your friends and family for a loan, I guess, is the next option.
Yeah, I didn't even want to say that one. Yeah. Like I was gonna make a joke about going to your rich uncle or something, and I was like, it's not even good as a joke because it's so. Then if you can't pay your uncle back, that just is awful. Like going into
you pay him with a credit card,
pay off your uncle with a credit card. All right. Anything else to add over there?
I think that's probably it.
All right. Good luck.
Yep.
Good luck out there. Hope you raise some quick funds.
Yeah.
And if you have any more emergency questions, definitely go to a professional. And if you have more slow-paced questions, go to floatanksolutions.com/podcast and shoot them off there.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.